Bullshit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.
I hadn't unmuted the microphone and even started talking yet, Gumby. That's why you couldn't hear me. What's up, man? It was really good, man. True to form, I usually don't sleep a lot whenever I'm traveling. I end up just working extra, like working late, doing other stuff. So my work trips are not usually very relaxing. Hey, Cappy. This is the startup screen. We're getting ready to get started. We'll be working on our little AI hacking bot tonight for playing CTF games like Try Hack Me and Hack the Box. We're doing a little bit of care and feeding right now, fixing some bugs in it. Hey, Grim, what's up, man? Happy Saturday. Alright. I think I've got everything up and running. Just waiting for the timer to run down. Nice, this is working. Let's see. All right, let's get started. What is this doing? Yeah, it's working. Okay. I gotta restart the server, but then we can get going. Oh, wait, I just realized I didn't turn on something real quick. That's all right. We'll do it like this. Sorry, I'm still getting the streamcast up from the desktop. Stand by. What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday. My days are all mixed up because I was traveling all last week for work. That's why there was no Wednesday night news stream, and a couple of those nights I didn't even sleep. I was just working on stuff. Hey, there we go. Now it's up. All right, let me kill the server. I forgot I need to relaunch it so I can, because the server's been running for a couple of days. It needs to get a new Cloudflare tunnel. So let me do this real quick. And then I think we'll be set. Hey, Grim, thanks for coming online, man. All right, let me grab that Ratchmere. Got that. Close that. Oh, where's the... There it is. What the heck? Ah, I didn't copy. You suck. You suck diddly-ock, Flanders. But yeah, so I was traveling. I was out in... Oh, I gotta add the server to the origin. How do I do that? I think that'll do it. We ran into this problem before. I can't remember what it is. Yeah, there's the base URL. I forgot what I had to do there. Yeah, you won't be able to use any of that, Gumby.
Incoming transmission from Moreno Gumby OPSEC.
Because this is going to be routed back up to Cloudflare, so it's not going to let anybody connect to it. Yeah. So basically what it's doing is it's going to be using Cloudflare as a hopping tunnel. But to access it, you still have to go through LangSmith, and in LangSmith, I have to authenticate. I think that should be... See if that'll work. So they recently made a change here in the interface, and I'm trying to remember what I did to it.
Incoming transmission from Moreno Gumby. Gotcha, just making sure.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I thought that was... Crap, what is it I have to add here? Damn it. I forgot since they changed this. 10 backs. Hold on. Let me try this real quick. Let's see. Backslash dot start. I wonder if that'll work. didn't like that. Into the endpoint info of your local agent server. Should be that. Connect. Man, what did I do here? Totally forgot. Oh, I'll keep tinkering with this. So, yeah, guys, I was at a big company meeting with a bunch of the other folks in my team, and it was really cool because they're all just a bunch of galaxy brains. It was nice to get to see everybody and talk about all the interesting stuff we had. We even had a tiny awards ceremony at the end, since it was all the consultants, all the people doing offensive security work, right? And one of them was the biggest oops. That was pretty funny. I can't tell the story, but it was pretty freaking funny. And the TLDR was, yeah, don't try to connect to, what is it? Basically, whenever you are cleaning up a client's environment from an assessment, don't do it on a Saturday. That was the TLDR from it. What did I do here? Local host should be allowed. That should be allowed. Maybe it's this right here. Hold on. Actually, let me try something real quick. Console. Because the console actually will show me what the cores are. Because I'm trying to think about what it needs to even connect to. Oh, thanks, man. Dude, the beard's taken me like, I guess 4 years at this point to grow out. Because I started growing it when my second son was born. And he just turned 4 years old. Before that, I used to keep it like really trim. Damn it, Gumby. Gumby, did you watch all of those solo leveling abridged? God, they're twisted. What is the one it needs to connect to? Error not, name or not resolved. What? What? Okay. Connect to local server. That should be fine. Well, let me just wildcard this. Oh, there we go. Nuclear approach. Let's go. All right. Why don't we grab the test data real quick? But yeah, actually, it's really fun. We also do a hackathon while we're there. So everybody always has really neat ideas. And so we just kind of say like, hey, what could we get done? That's not going to work. Stop. Just. Oh, I broke it. I broke it so bad by just accidentally hitting buttons. There we go. Let me make a new thread here. There we go. We'll start the seed run real quick. I just needed to touch the exploit agent, and then I'll kill this here. But yeah, we had a little hackathon, got to have some dinner with folks, and just having a great time. Hey, Hats, what's up, man? I don't think I've seen you recently, so Happy New Year, brother. How much of the hats? I think he charges about $350. $350. And I tried to give it to him one time. I'm like, hey man, yeah, I'd like a hat. And so he tells me it's about $350. And then just as I'm about to give him the money, I look up and I notice this happens to be a dinosaur from the Cretaceous period. I was like, damn you, Loch Ness monster. Oh, you had a big release sprint? Gotcha, man. Well, Happy New Year, dude. I hope you had a great Christmas, too. So what we've been in the middle of is, let me see. I had my computer offline, but also I think the power went out. Sock told me while I was gone. I think it killed everything. Hold on, let me watch this real quick and I'll diagram it out. So all the workflow members orchestrated in LangGraph, and LangGraph handles the state management and the flow through there. And it looks like we had some kind of an error in enum. That's right. I needed it. It didn't have to go through the entire enum loop anyway. So what happened was, as we're coming through here, we've got a state table up here that keeps track of everything. So in the state table, And as we have nodes that are working through the workflow, whatever they are, we've got some kind of directed graph, right? So as they're coming in, what happens is this state table gets passed as a memory reference down to here. And then what should happen is we then return the data we want to update to the new state table. And then this process just repeats. So it takes in data from the state table, and then we return whatever updates need to be made to the state table. So as we're going through this process, though, if this guy down here actually says, okay, cool, I'm going to write data to the state variable that just got passed to me, what happens is it's passing it by a memory reference. So instead of returning the values that need to get updated in that state table, it was directly updating it. Now, that's not necessarily a horrible thing. Due to a design decision, we were only mutating the state table for stuff we were already going to return anyway. However, it does make the telemetry look like absolute butt. So we're going through and we're cleaning up all those state changes right there and making sure that they get done. And I believe this, like for this would be like the recon agent. I think the recon agent was already done. Unfortunately, I lost the Claude code session I had double checking the code for me. So Claude is still not writing any code. I've just got it doing a little bit of checks and balances for me. So like, hey, go check the code for this, check it for that. So stuff like that. Cypher, what's up, nerd? Spent Christmas investigating and solving. Colleague went on site on January 1st. All that during the sprint. Ooh. So I just offlined myself. Fun times. Yeah, I get it, man. A little overloaded on, I thought I was a protected circuits. Oof. Oh. That's a bummer, dude. Yeah, I had Christmas week off, and then I went on this report writing binge during the week of New Year's. And actually, I was still finishing it up. I love how American Airlines like expanded economy seats. They're like, hey, yeah, you got more legroom. Sure do. Don't have any more shoulder room, though. That's the killer. And I was sitting next to a dude who looked like he probably played linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys. And so we were not having a good time on the plane. I was way too wide for those seats, and he was about twice as wide as me. Poor guy had to sit sideways practically the whole flight. All right, let's go check something here. Wait, hold on, let me bring that back up. Scroll that down. Okay, let me pull up the to-do list. Okay, I tell you what, let's go make these changes in the Stinger agent. The Recon agent should be totally set. We made all the state changes onto there. So let's start with the Stinger agent. All right, what do we need to go? Line 90. There we go. See, so this is a perfect example. What I was just talking about for anybody who doesn't know what we've been working on lately. When this happens, this state object is passed directly from here, and when Python does that, it passes it by a memory reference. So we really just have one copy of it, and when we pass this way, we're mutating the state table directly and making it a no happy. So what we need to do is fix this current task index. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and current task, thankfully, we can look at this. I'm going to move this. Hold on. Let's rearrange things a little bit here. To do is going to go right here. So on the state table, though, the current task is just an integer. So integers don't get passed by reference. Things like objects do get passed by reference. So for example, if the context was holding a host object, that would be passed by reference. Last tool call would be that tool message. That's an object. Those would get passed by reference. So this one, not such a big deal. Because all we need to do then is come just make a modification. So we can do actually, I don't want to do this. Yeah, we'll call this output current task. And then make that an integer. And this is going to equal, we'll just grab this, we'll grab the copy from the state directly. Right here. Actually, hold on. Let me, because I came up with like a little bit of a design decision on how I was going to handle this. Output messages. Where did I do that at? I'm pretty sure I did that up here in the recon agent. There we go. So now what I'm going to start doing is anytime we have input items, we'll have them here, and then we'll have our output ones set up the same way. In this case, I don't think it's such a big deal. I can kind of get away with it. We'll do it just for completeness sake. So we'll do input current task. And make that an integer. Do the same thing here. And then actually I'm going to take this out and make this reference the input current task like that. Yeah, I see I spelled it wrong. Thank you. There we go. Oh, thanks, Yami. I gotta try and make myself smaller. It didn't really work, but I felt myself. I told myself I'm helping. Thankfully, man. Cypher, I cannot wait till I can get back to working out again because it's been. Damn, at this point, it's been like a year and a half since I was able to work out consistently. So it correlated right around the time I started working at my new company. So it wasn't because of the new company. No, it's because everything that happened with my sister and everything, and that just kind of threw everything into a tailspin. So I had all the added stress of that plus the new job. It just went out the window. And then in January, I hurt my back. So thankfully, PT's going really well. I should be able to get back to exercising here soon. I'm compensating for the hardcore by printing resistors, sorting box sets now. So they never got properly organized. It's like my bonsai tree. Oh, that's awesome, dude. No, dude, so Hats, I don't know if you remember, but about the time I stopped streaming 6 days a week and I had to drop down to just streaming like 2 and 3 was my the day I started at my new job, which was about a year and a half ago. My sister passed away. So like I was onboarding that day, and then that night I was live on stream and got the call from my dad. And so that was the kind of like the real kickoff of the hard year. I'm going to set this to 0. Actually, we'll put it at -1. I'm going to do this here. So this will be our output current task here. There we go. Okay, so we got that one taken care of. All right, let's do that. And then what else do we have? We have line 154. Let's go clean that one up real fast. Oh, that's all. Those are both in main, so we don't have to worry about those. 154 and 155. Yeah, we're good there. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to delete those. We don't need to worry about those. All right, but now we got to clean up the enum agent, so clear that out. Oh, wait, hold on. I forgot. There's something I need to do here, which is... So we went through and we updated that on line 90, but now we got to update the return info. So... where's the data we're going to return? Let me see. Where did I do this? Let me think. No. I've been fine. In last January, that was when I had jumped off the pickup truck and destroyed my back. So, yeah. Yeah, it's been... I'm kind of happy to see 2026, because 25 was the hardest year of my life. And I count everything slightly before that, so technically it was longer than a year. Oh yeah, not sponsored by Jocko yet. Finish that one off real fast. I literally woke up from a nap and then hopped on stream. Ah, here we go. So I need to change this right here. Boop, just like that. Now, where's index? Index and task. Okay. Actually, I don't even need this, come to think of it. Would not even use that very well. Okay. So that finishes off Stinger completely. But now we need to go to the enum agent. So let's go do that. Ugh. The question is actually, how badly do I want to actually update the enum agent? So the enum agent and the recon agent are essentially duplicates of each other. They work the exact same way. So I could actually just copy all the code from the recon agent, update it, and just rename everything to be the recon agent. Oh, do I want to do that? Actually, let me try something here real quick. Let me try something. Let me diff this. So diff agents, recon agent and agents, enum agents. I could go through the diff here and kind of think about how I wanted it. Really, I think what I want to do here is just that. Ta-da! Okay, so now what I need to do is come through and just find and replace a whole bunch of stuff here. Because like I said, those two, they're exactly identical in there. So let me see. Where is my find? So where's everywhere we used recon? Replace all. There we go. Now the question is, how much did that change? Let me see down here in the definitions. Ah, see down here though, like recon tool node, that needs to be changed. That should be the enum tool node. And this would be recon agent, so let me back that out real quick. I shouldn't have closed the find and replace yet. Hey, Monkey, what's up, brother? Yeah, I did roll the quad too, so if you want the full timeline of events, because I know a lot of lore happened over the last year. Hey, Band, what's up, brother? So the full lore of events was in... This actually started all the way back in freaking July of 2024. July 2024, Panda, my old dog, she got into something in the backyard, came home one night, and she was just dead in the backyard. So that kind of kicked everything off. Fast forward to September. September was when I got my... I started my new company the exact same day as the night my sister passed away. And then I think around November, one of my best friends, the one I used to teach Sunday school with, who's a great buddy, I'm like godparents to a bunch of his kids, his dad passed away. And then in January, I destroyed a disc in my back and was bedridden for a couple of weeks. Fast forward from there in March, that's when there were the complications with Elijah's birth, and then he passed away a week after he was born. And then fast forward from there in May is when my dad passed away. And geez, I'm trying to think what else there's been right after that. But yeah, that was there was something else in there. I can't even keep track of it myself. But that was it for like a year. everything just like that happening. So it's been I was happy to see 2026 roll around. There was some other stuff in there, I just can't think of it right now. I think I've got everything I need here. Oh yeah, that was the other thing, Gumby. You just reminded me. I was scrolling back through the chat to see what I missed. And then yeah, this past August, got thrown off a four-wheeler while I was riding with Honey Badger. He was in my lap, and it was save him or the quad. I chose him, so I balled him up and I tucked and rolled, and I landed on this shoulder. The shoulder was okay, but it crunched in on my ribs, so had to recover from that and then have physical therapy. So yeah, that was one of the other things too. Yeah, thanks, Nine. Dude, it's I know, and I was talking with my manager actually. Dude, so the company has been really freaking awesome. So something else that came up, not a bad thing, but I got a message after I had been at my current company for a while. I think maybe close it up on like 1 year, because I've been here about a year and a half. And it was from my old director that I used to work with, who's a super cool guy. And he said, hey man, I've got an opening. Would you be interested? And I was like, not really, man, because I didn't. Then I explained to him everything that happened. And he's like, they have been with me all the way, backing me up. I couldn't have asked for a better company to be helping me out. So that was one thing that was the like one awesome thing. I told my manager, I was like, hey, I knew joining the team was going to be really helpful, and I was going to learn a lot, and it was going to help me grow, and I could contribute. I told her I didn't realize how much of an absolute blessing with a freaking capital B it was going to be, because of how helpful they were and how like supportive they were through everything. So even after everything that happened with Elijah, I still got my full paternity leave. They're like, yeah, man, because you need to go take care of your wife and kids and stuff. And that was like the tiniest thing they did for me. The tiniest thing. I even got an email from the CEO because I guess they were at a big managers meeting talking about like, hey, what's going on with the team? How's everything going? And all of my events came up, and he emailed me more succinct, more, diplomatically than this, but his email basically said, holy shit, I heard about everything that's been going on. Let me know if you need anything. So they've been above and beyond awesome. They did the fundraiser, the t-shirt fundraiser. That was really cool. Okay, I think that fixed it, actually. I'm going to say that's good. Actually, tell you what, let's do a little test on Claude real quick.
Incoming transmission from Marano Gumby. We miss you while you were gone. Welcome back, Daddy.
Thanks, man. Dude, I thought about trying to do something on Wednesday night, even if it was just like a little short stream, but I didn't have time to get a mobile streaming rig set up with like the very basics to it. So I did get to see Cody, who's the guy who wrote Mythic C2. Finally got to hang out with him for a little bit. That was cool. And so I told him, hey man, after I get this stuff done, we're probably going to get ready to move into the post-exploitation agent. So, what was this? Hold on, I gotta remember what this folder was called, or this file, enum agent. Enum agent.py. Look for instances where the state object is directly written to, and return a list. Where that occurred. There you go. We'll let Claude churn on this for me. This is actually really cool because I like having it just go through and do checks on here. Did I misspell it? Oh, I guess I did. Oh, I called it Agenti. Go Enum Agenti. Ooh ooh. Yeah, band, I see that now. I know I make fun of the Catholic stuff, but heck, I'm glad I was able to help you through that. Dude, the folks at my church were really awesome too. There was an unusually high number of folks at my church that passed away too. The one I mentioned, one of my best friend's dads, that was the one that was really painful. Let's see. Also double check for any operations like .append. Other method that could change the state variable. Actually, it does mention this at line 231 where you pass the entire state object to command. That actually might be something we need to do. Because if this is the case, then at least this cleans up the enum agent. And that's why we spent so much time on the recon agent getting it nice and cleaned up, because then I could just duplicate it for the recon. Or for enum. Yeah, Agenti. That's what we're going to do. Make our own agent framework, and we'll call it Agenti. That'd be funny. Hey, Sorcerer, what's up, brother? Happy Saturday. Oh, band. Bro, I remember you told me when you were... Because that move was when you took the new job, right? Dude. Yeah. Oh, brother, I'm so sorry to hear about that. I don't know what happened in 2025. It just seems like it was the year of hardship for most folks. Okay, good. So, as far as Claude can tell, there's been no direct writes to the state table. I do want to go double check something, though, that it made me think about, which is... Let's see. So, in the handoff, update is state. Oh, I don't know if we want to necessarily do that. I mean... I don't know if I actually need that. I think this is more for when we're returning it. I think it's okay. I don't think it's going to cause any issues in there. Yeah, I think we can leave that just as is. Okay, that should finish off the enumeration agent. Actually, hang on one second. I'm going to commit these changes real quick. Let's see. War state management updates. I'm just going to commit it now. I'm not going to push it yet. I'll push it tonight. But at least we got that committed, so it will be up there soon. All right, I think the last one, let me see. Enum agent, let me just take these out. Delete. Hello, Peaches. Yeah, so exploit agent, also, oh, browser agent has to have it too. Okay, let's go clean this one up. So the browser agent, which is our only special agent, that one has to get cleaned up as also. So the last few years, I've lost pretty much all my extended family except my dad. Oh, dude. Yeah, what was wild about losing my sister is it was such a huge shock because I had already made plans to like take care of my sister. She lived with my parents and was taking care of them. And just took care of everybody. She took care of my parents, took care of our church, took care of like other people at the church's kids and stuff, like babysitting them and looking after them. I don't know how many kids she was godmother to. It was a huge amount. And just taking care of everybody. So I just never the thought of anything happening to her never even crossed my mind. So when it did, it was probably it was definitely the biggest hit. And then, God, poor kids. So Honey Badger wasn't old enough to kind of recognize what was going on, but Agent Zero definitely was. So it was weird though, because thankfully that was not Agent Zero's first introduction to death. It happened with Panda. So, and he was really, really torn up over Panda. Panda was our dog. She was a little black and white Boston Terrier, and sweet, sweet doggy. Loved playing with the kids. And that hit Agent Zero like a ton of bricks. So you're talking about the silver lining for things. Thankfully, that was his actual first introduction to mortality, and it wasn't with my sister, who was like his second mother and always taking care of him and looking after him. Okay. Yeah, here's what we're going to need to do. So right here where it's causing this issue is we have a spot in the state table for persistence tools, or persistent tools. So tools that once they're spun up, they can live in the background, like our special agents. So in this case, this will be an agent with browser access over to this particular host. So we need to annotate this. So let's go do that. It is a dictionary string, but we got to make this an annotated. And so when we're using the annotated type, first thing we do is we define what the type is, and then we give it let me delete that comment out. No, go away. Once we do that, then what we do is we tell it which function to use for reducing the data. So it'll pass in the current data and the new data through whatever this function definition is, and then it will say how it wants to do it. I think actually we can just use the dictionary merge reducer. Just like that. There we go. And then what we can do is we can just make a new variable called that, and then when we get ready to return it, there we go. Yeah, so that's what we want to do. These are okay right here. We can read from the state table. But what we've really been doing is making two copies of this. So, for example, this is persistence tools. So what we'll do is we'll do input persistence tools, and then we're going to do an output persistence tools. Just like that. Yes. And we're just going to make it a dictionary type in here. And then what we're going to do is this guy. So here's where we're actually going to take that, put it in right there. And then everywhere we see that we're using this is where we're going to, damn it, copy the wrong thing. So now we're going to swap in all the reads from this. If we made any changes to this, it would actually keep following the memory references and do it. So there's our agent. Now this one right here is actually where we're going to set the output agent. Right, meow. I'm going to set it right about meow. There we go. So what should happen is whenever we invoke this browser wrapper, the state table is going to come in. We'll get a memory reference to the persistence tools, what's that, dictionary. And then as it comes through and it looks at things, it'll keep reading from that memory reference from that variable. So basically it's a memory reference to a memory reference to a memory reference. There's a list of them in here. But when we get ready to return it, we're going to just return this output persistence tools. So let me make sure we didn't do any other changes here. All right, we need one more right chmere. Boop. And then what else do we need in here? Let me double check this real quick. All right, so for at least for this one, don't believe we have any more. Let me see. Because this is only flagging line 27 and 30. Oh, this was other stuff I had for the browser agent. Yeah, I remember that. I need to double check that. It's been a pretty shit year for me too, to be honest. So both my grandparents passed away. And to make some stupid scheme with inheritance, my mother hid it from everyone and then asked me to forget some papers. So I told no in detail. She told me I'm brainwashed my relatives and we have not talked since. Dude. So, other two, I have no idea where they are, whether or not they're alive. Parents are nasty divorce. Ah, bro, that's rough, man. So a very good buddy of mine, Band, is in the same boat, and it had to do with his mother was, let's just say she was quite a piece of work and lied to him a lot about his extended family, so he didn't really know them very much. And now he is finally being full-grown adult. He's like my age. He finally decides like, hey, was that actually true? And he's been going through and actually reconnecting with a lot of his extended family that he didn't even know existed, or two, thought that for some reason all of a sudden started hating him and wanted nothing to do with him. And then finding out that was absolute BS and they love him and they haven't talked to him in, 30 years since he was a little guy. All right, these two are done. Let's take those out. Last thing we need to do is... Oh, look at this. See, here's one actually that Claude missed. See that? So there's other areas over here that we are actually writing to. So that's all right. We need to update persistence tools. That will be just fine. Boop. So we need to set up another pair up here. So we're going to do... input tasks, and then we're going to do output tasks. So this is just naming it after whatever the key is in the state table. Let me try this again. Check. For the same behaviors. I want to see what it says now, because obviously it missed that. And this is why I said I like all the stuff that it's doing. I've been using Claude Code a lot recently. However, it still misses things. Because like, hey, here's where we're mutating the tasks right here. And we're even returning that, right? So let's see if we can mark everywhere we had this. So this line, this line, this line. This is fine because this is just taking it out. And this is just getting the target IP. Okay, so all that stuff is good. We can work with that. Even that I want to change though, because to keep it with the similar structure. What was tasks actually? Task is a list of task objects. So the list of. So we can keep the typing somewhat good. And that's we're gonna pull the task list out of the state table. There we go. Like that. Now, everywhere we've got references to state task, we're going to go modify those. We're going to swap in that input task there. All right, so I'm just going to do this one by hand. So we're going to swap that in, swap that one in. Here we go. And so here, this is why I'm doing it by hand, because see, this is all the stuff we're writing to what should be the output task. So here, we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to make a copy of it. So we need to import copy. Let me see if it's smart enough to do this, because it should come from the copy library, but it's going to say, hey, I don't know how to do this. From copy, import deep copy. Perfect. There we go. So now what this does is we break the memory reference when we do the deep copy. We copy all the objects and sub-objects. They get new memory addresses, and then we don't have to worry about it. So now we can go through and find everywhere that we wrote to this, and we just swap in this guy right here. So this needs to be an input though, right here. Change that. And then this one right, yeah, should be an output copy right there. Just like that. Okay, so now instead of returning the entire output, what we could do is we could actually choose which one we wanted to return, which would be this right here. Because let me double check. So for our task list merge, we should be able to take in a list of tasks or a current task. Yeah, we do have that set up. Okay, cool. So now what we're doing is we don't have to return every single task that we modified. We can just return the ones that we, the individual tasks that we want. It'll merge it into the list there. Wasn't so much that anybody lied to each other, just that they didn't like each other. I understand that. Thankfully, I have a pretty good relationship with most of my extended family. Well, I say that actually. So I'm the youngest. I'm the youngest of 5. So a lot of that is this value not even used? I know that one gets used. Why are you doing this? Okay, fine. It can be that or a none. Will that make you happy? And so, unfortunately, about the time I was born, a lot of like the family get-togethers and everything were not really a thing. Okay, let me take that out. We're not using exploit step. Let's see. Now, what is this one here? I'm going to tell it, don't worry about this type checking right here. Let's see. Disable inspection for the statement. All right, now what about this one here? Same thing. So just doing a little bit of code cleanup here. Don't need it for these statements. I know it's working. It's just the, what is this? And like, for example, this is absolutely correct to what it should be doing. There we go. Because now it's giving me like all these weird errors where it thinks stuff should happen and it's not, and it throws me off all the time. I feel not talking is better than being featured on a true crime documentary posthumously. Understand, dude. Fully understand. Just make sure you got good landed seed between you. Yeah. All right, I think that finishes off the browser agent. Okay, so now we got to go fix up the exploit agent. So finally, we're getting back to where we were, back into the exploit agent. Tasking. Oh, actually, it did find that. Cool. Okay. I'm going to tell it to check the entire code base and make a succinct bullet point list. To-do list in Markdown. Don't write to disk, just display. All right, back to the exploit agent. All right. Oh god, I added so many line like breaks in here. So, yep, all of these is what we've got to modify. Right, Schmear. I'm just a baby. Just a wee baby. But you get your mojo, and I get your baby. I want my baby back, ribs. let's start with state host right here. I don't know if that'll actually work with that. Let me try this. So all these red lines you're seeing right here, these are all the return values, and I just highlighted them so I know what I need to mess with. So we need an input and output for our task and our host. So let's go up to the top of the variable here and make a definition here. So we're going to do input host, and then we'll do output host, and then we're going to do input. What was the other one here? Task. There we go. So now we've got our input output pairs. Move that down. I should have done that in enum also, but you know what? It's fine. Or in the browser agent, but you know what? It's fine. This is fine. Add breaks till it breaks. I know, right? That's what I do all the time. Just throw a little break statement in there. A little breaky break. All right. So host needs to be let's do that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, well, I got to import that real quick. Yeah, and that's going to just be our state host value. So like I said, the input values we can do like this and let them just be memory references. That's no problem, because these by definition should be read-only ones in here. And then we'll do the same kind of here. But this should be this, or it can be... Actually, hold on. What did we do for hosts? We're using a dictionary merge? Okay, so no, it needs to be a structure like this. So let's take this out. Damn it. Just don't delete that much. There we go. And then for now, we're going to initialize this as a none. So make that a none as well. There we go. Just like so. All right, same thing for input tasks. So where did we do that? Right here. So we'll grab this guy. Task is just a list of tasks. So that's a list of task objects, and we'll pull that from the state table. And then our same thing here, that's going to be we'll make that a list of tasks, or it can just be a task by itself. And then for now, or that can be a none. Yeah, that's fine. And then set that equal to a none for now. There we go. Gotcha. Hey, Hydrogen, what's up, brother? Hope you're having a fantastic Saturday. I did get to take the kids four-wheel riding today, and dude, Agent Zero was ripping around the track. I can't wait. So we're gonna start going back to the cross-country track, or to the cross-country racing circuit this month. So it runs all year long. There's 2 months taken off during the summer when it's, just hotter than balls in Texas. But other than that, there's about 10 races throughout the year. So there's roughly one a month with a break in there. And he's been really excited to go back. He has a great time with all the other kiddos and stuff there. All right, so here's where we're handling the initial access exploit, and we were writing that directly. So let's see where we're actually accessing this host. So where do we have? So let's do this. What we're going to do is we're going to do output host is going to equal let me double check. Yeah, we did a straight dictionary merge, so we're going to have to do it like this. Actually, so yeah, here's what we'll do. We're going to split this into 2 lines first. So you go down, meow. So this is going to be actually a deep copy of this part. Hold on, let me break this out again. Let's do that. So we're going to need a deep copy of this particular host. And we're going to take this part out. So then we're going to make a copy of it. We're going to import this guy. There we go. So we got that imported. Actually, let's do it like this. We're going to say it's going to be target IP and then this right there. There we go. So that builds us our very basic dictionary right there. And then from output host here, we're going to build that. And then we're going to say from the target IP, yeah, there we go. That'll work. So we just split that one right into 2. So we make the information for the output host, put it right there, then bam. So now, this is appending the initial access exploit into the box. There we go. So now, what about state tasks? Where do we have that? Let's drop that right there. Oh, and here it's saying the state current task is get new task. No. But we don't even return that, do we? I don't think so. What do you think about this? What racing circuit? So it's called TX4, which is Texas four-wheel cross-country racing, and it's a really great group of folks out there. The kids basically form, and actually it's funny because they got racing from all the way down to like, what is it? I think the youngest ones racing out there are 4 years old, and they're kind of on their own track, and they've got race wardens out there keeping an eye on everybody because they're cutting through fields and woods and everything. They go cut the track usually a week or 2 before the race, and then they do a little bit of cleanup before the actual race. And they've got race wardens out there keeping an eye on everybody. Everyone just kind of like helping look after everybody's kids. The kids just form a roving pack of marauders at the end of the race and just play, and they go run around and accost all the different camps for snacks as tribute to not invoke chaos upon them. And everybody just has a really great time out there. Lots of awesome folks. So they also have a TX2, which takes place, I think, the weekend after. So that one's for dirt bikes. And actually, I've got a dirt bike coming for Agent Zero for him to start riding and getting some practice on. All right, I think I've got all this good. This is the one where... Actually, hold on. Let me go look at something in the recon agent, because we decided that, hey, if this is the situation where that's not assigned to exploit, it should bail out. Where did I handle that? I believe I handled up here. Yeah, here we go. Just like this. We basically said, hey, if Stinger is too stupid and it passes the agent to the wrong place, then we're not going to do it. So let me drop this in here. And I gotta remember how I did this. How did I pull out that input task? Yeah, let me grab these. There we go. All right, so input task, right? Meow. Actually, that fixed it just perfect. Excellent. So we went ahead and pulled these out as derivatives from the state table. And then now, if it comes to us and it says, hey, it's not in a thing, then but we basically busted out. So now we don't even have to worry about if this is actually assigned to exploit. So where's the ifs? Where's the other end of the if statement here? There is no if. That's basically it. So we should be able to unwrap this. We have this, we have elif. Yeah, I had a lot of unneeded branches in this. Let me see, what scope line is this on? It's on the first scope line right here. Okay, yeah, so this can go away. We're gonna take that out, and then we're gonna descope all of these. Shift tab. There we go. That should put them all on the correct scope line. Excellent. Okay. I think that's good. Are you going to go to McMahon Ranch? I've been there a couple times. I don't know, dude. Let me see. Because the races, they stretch all the way down from kind of like down around San Angelo up to a little bit closer to DFW. It's a lot of the central Texas area. Let's see. Let me look at that one real quick. McMahon Ranch, Texas. One sec. Let me check that one out. Wow, MapQuest is still a website. Let me see. It wouldn't surprise me if we had been down there for a race. Basically, we ended up taking the entire 2025 season off. After my back injury and everything else, I needed to be here with my family. I didn't want to go take off anytime for anything like that. And so, but yeah, I think we may have been down there because it's right around our wheelhouse for where the races happen. So here, here's a little bit of blowback for you, and I apologize for the flashbang that's about to happen because it's MapQuest. But anyway, yeah, this is down here near Austin, and right around like Bastrop and Giddings, there's a lot of ranches down here that will work with TX4. And so, but yeah, so here's Dallas, right? And so the races tend to happen kind of like in this triangle between DFW, Austin, and Houston. They all just kind of happen around here. So lots of driving. So typically I take that Friday before off from work, and we drive down there early in the day. We've definitely been down to Smithsville. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. 1/4 of the way to Zen. Nice. Nice. Did you 3D print all these little modules in here, Hats? Because that's awesome. I have a resin printer, so it does super high detail, but I don't have an extrusion printer. I'm out of room in my office. So eventually I would like to get an extrusion printer, though. That's cool. I love that. Yeah, depending on which part of Houston you're going to, it can definitely be 6 hours. Usually I kind of bookmark it to 5 hours in my head, but if you're going to the south side of Houston, yeah, you're talking more like 6 hours, because Houston traffic always sucks. Oh, you know what I just remembered? I gotta add time to the box. There we go. See, so there's our current task. Actually, you know what? We can even change this. We don't need this right now. Input task is going to be there. So yeah, anywhere we're using that, we can change that. So let's go modify this real quick. Now, where's exploit task? Where did that get defined? Yeah, I guess that's the first place we defined it right there. see. So there, yeah, there we go. Now it's going through the input task. It's checking it. And this is the code we just added, where we added the output host there. And then, here we go. So this task, we need to go modify that. So how do I want to do that? Because this is a little bit funky right here. Driving from North Austin to South Austin could be 4 hours if traffic's bad. Oh, I know, dude. Austin is so congested now. It was really badly congested even 10 years ago. And then everybody started, a lot of folks from California started moving to Austin. And then, hey, Alex, what's up, man? Happy Saturday. What's up, brother? Happy Hackins. But yeah, a lot of folks started moving from California to Austin. And then after that happened, it started getting more congested. And then there was that huge mass exodus from California and other places in 2020 going to Austin. And whoo, yeah, Houston didn't keep up with infrastructure. So it went from already crowded to basically they imported the LA traffic is what happened to it. Okay, so this is actually operating on the status message. So let's come back up here. Input task, right here. Is there anywhere else we're referencing that input current task? Yeah, right here. I'm gonna let me comment that out because I don't think we're using that right there. Having to unspaghettify the code. But that's all right. Once this is done, once the state management's all been updated, we've got a new design pattern for handling the state table properly. It was working. It just was not working properly. We do want it working properly. So once that is all done, we can actually start planning out the post-exploitation agent. I think I've got an idea on how I want to do that, but I want to tinker with LangGraph's deep agent a bit and go test it out. Someone explained it to me that LangGraph's deep agent is very similar in its execution and structure to like what Claude code is. And I was like, okay, that sounds interesting in the way it's kind of working and thinking. I still want to go through and mess with it a bit. Oh, this shouldn't be input current task. This should be input task. There we go. What's this song? Drop the Act. Another one of Two Bob's bangers. Oh, I can't wait till this is done. This state management cleanup is such a pain, and not the side quest I thought I was going to be shunted into. So, did you guys ever play Fable? Fable 2 specifically. In Fable 2, I remember there was a quest line that could happen where you could get blackmailed. So in the game, there's multiple towns, multiple cities, and you could basically marry as many women as you wanted to in the game. And so, of course, just playing degenerate mode, I had like a wife in every town. And there was a quest line that will pop up in Fable that basically, like, you get a letter from somebody that says, I know what's going on. You're supposed to go meet them, and they're going to try and blackmail you. And I was like, oh, yeah, cool. Try to blackmail me. I'm like level, I don't know, whatever the level structure was, everything. I was maxed out to the nines. But then there was another weird effect that happened in Fable, and that is if one of the characters' wives gets pregnant, then it fast forwards a week. And the letter said, you've only got a week to do this. And so I was like, yeah, let's go start the quest line. And then immediately one of the NPC wives is like, I'm pregnant, and it fast forwards a week, and I fail the quest immediately. And I was like, damn it, I wanted to see this quest line. And then later on in the game, you actually see like your two wives like meet up and start like fighting each other. It was funny. They did such a good job on that one. Fable 3 was okay. I don't have any complaints about it, but Fable 2 was really good. I think the funniest part of Fable 3 was I think you could sit like on the I don't remember, like the king's chair or whatever it was, and you could be wearing the chicken suit. I think you got a special achievement for that. All right, let me double check something here. So for output tasks, let me take this out. And in fact, I'm going to take this out too. Let's clean this up a bit here. I'm going to take that out because those notes are old and they don't mean anything anymore. All right. Oh, I got to change that too because I just copied and pasted that code. There we go. Hey, Pat Cracker, what's up, man? Set myself up a Ponogotchi. Ooh, nice, dude. I remember when those Ponogotchis came out, a couple of the guys on my team, that was when I was on my first pen test team, they were all about that. They were all just raving and making Ponogotchis. And I was like, and a couple of them were younger guys. I'm like, I remember the original Tamagotchi. And so, and to be quite frank, the Ponogotchi's a lot cooler. All right, hold on. Let me double check something here. So, for our tasks, so this is going to be state current task, which I want to change that to input current task right there. Actually, hold on. I think I've already got that. Yeah, we do. Input task right there. So actually, we can collapse this down like so. And what we'll do is we'll just do this. We'll say output task is going to be a deep copy of this function, of this object here. Oh wait, so yeah, that's not going to work. Hold on, let me take that out. I think that technically would work, but that looks ugly as looks like ugly as sin. I don't think I want to do that. Hang on. So then let's do output task status equals validated. There we go. That looks a little bit better now. And now for our task, we can just return the individual task right there. All right, so that should clean up that function. Everything down to basically line 97. So the next one comes in at line 101. Unfortunately, the lines are going to be a little bit off. Okay. Hold on. Let me do something here real quick. I'm going to have Claude go and recreate this. I made changes and screwed stuff up. Please redo. Thank you, honey. Sock brought me my water because she loves me. And she knows I forgot it when I was out at the track, so I didn't get a lot done. Oh, yeah. I haven't had nearly enough water today. So I think what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to take this stuff out of the to-do list right here. And then once Claude spits this out, I'll just have it go write this over to the to-do file real quick. Okay. Let's see. Add these to the to-do MD file under, what was that section called? Patience, heck. There we go. We'll let that just write it down to do. I think we're going to invest in a flipper. There was actually, hang on one sec, Pack. Before you do that, there was one. Let me text my buddy real quick. because there was a one that was coming out that I think might have been a good competitor to that. Hey man, what's that awesome flipper alternative you were getting? There you go. I'll see what he says and I'll let you know about it. I think it was called the M1. Which kind of threw everybody off because the M1 Apple chip. M1 versus Flipper Zero. Yeah, this is the one that they're working on. Although, do a check on it because I don't know if the M1 is actually... I think they're still working on it. Let me see. Yeah, here's the Kickstarter for it. And I think... So it raised a butt ton of money. Let's see if they have any updates on... So it's supposed to be like a super Flipper Zero. I haven't quite looked at it. Let's see. In progress. Wi-Fi stuff. Stretch goal. Project process. When was the when did they put up this video? So they haven't had anything coming up here. This might, unfortunately, just be vapor hardware. I still like my flipper, and there's a huge ecosystem of support for it. So supposedly it's been out. I don't know if my buddy is still waiting on his. Yeah, he hasn't replied back yet. But yeah, Pack, take a look at that because that might be something also fun to take a look at. Because for some reason, the Flipper Zero is getting a lot of hate specifically. And so they're a little bit harder to come by. But also, it looks like the Flipper Zero actually is a thing. And I think it wrote it, but it didn't update here. Oh, I didn't allow the, I didn't allow it to actually write. Forgot about that. Hey, Phantom, thanks for the follow, man. I hope you're having a great Saturday, dude. All right. Since we made the changes on here, we have an updated list of what we need to actually come through and modify for the state management. Oh, this is busted now. Now that I look at it. Current task. This should be input. Input task. Oh, and see, yeah, here's another one where we're modifying that. Okay. Actually, I should take this check out because it shouldn't matter. Yeah, I'll nuke that out here in a second. Okay, so they should have been added to the to-do. Okay, here we go. It kind of did a good job, except... Let me bring this over. So, one thing it did is it broke them out a little bit how I didn't like it. That's cool that it said, hey, here's what's fixed, but I didn't need that. Just the AI being a little bit overzealous. Okay, you know what? I'll leave that in there for now because, yeah, I don't want to modify the state table directly. Let's see. Mutating operators. That's cool that it did that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this up. This is line 336, so it should go right about, yeah. And this is line 163. Put this around right about, maybe right about meow. No, more like meow. All right. By the way, speaking of Anthropic and Claude Code, so there's a new big thing that's got everybody's panties in a twist over on Twitter. And the problem is they were looking at what they were doing is they were using their Claude Code API structure to use it in other tools like what was it, like OpenCode and Cursor, and they finally banned that. That's weird, Gumby. I didn't hear the sound alert go off. Did it fire, or was I just not paying attention? It didn't play? Ah, man, more bugs to fix out. I need to go eventually update all those anyway. And I need to add some for the other platforms too, because right now it's all Twitch centric. All right, so we need to look at line 106 here. This section right here actually just needs to we don't need to worry about this. So these lines just need to get commented out there. Let's see. Where was line 106? Okay, so 106 we took care of because it's going to be commented out. Let's see, 113. Yeah, so that's the next one we're working on here. This should be input task. Actually, I take that back. Should it be input task? It should be... Let me rearrange this a bit. Yeah, so that should be our input task directly. So this is the list of tasks. This is actually the one we're working on. There's our hosts right there. And what about this return statement? This return statement is cleaned up. This return statement is going to go away. And then, let's see. So that should be input task right there. Okay. Let's see. Any SEO backdoors? Unfortunately, if Chris was on clip, I would say you could talk to him about it. It's not really a backdoor, but actually, he's come up with some interesting ideas on how adversaries could be abusing SEO. By the way, remember the rules of chat. First rule, don't hack the stream. That's where I'm doing my work. Second rule is everybody in chat is a fed. And the third rule is don't talk about anything illegal. See rule number 2. And the fourth rule is just be awesome to each other. Be excellent to each other. Okay, this I can wipe out here. This will be our output task. Oh, we didn't define an output task, did we? That's all right. We can fix that, though. Because what we're going to do is we will say... let's see. Let's go ahead and define that. So output task is going to be a task type, and it's going to be a deep copy of input task right there, just like meow. And see, this is the kind of crap where it's like, hey, you're supposed to put a literal in here. It's like, it is the literal. Would you stop asking? There we go. Oh, I said it backwards. I need to update the rules of chat then. Rule number 2 should be everyone in chat is a fed for the warning.
I'm back, baby.
I heard that one. What the heck? Apparently Bender just refuses to work with with Gumby. All right, so this now should be our output task, right? Yeah. So let's swap that out. Actually, that'll be our input task right there. So our input task, and then we're going to say if the this will also be our input task, just like so. Boop. Yeah. Also, what's up, B7? Happy Saturday, brother. I missed y'all for the Wednesday night stream. I have so many news stories lined up for Wednesday night. Let's see. Okay, I think that's all good. Line 113 was also a mutation. We changed that. Now, we moved everything down, so everything's going to move down by a line, but that's all right. So line 129, which was this one right here. So these two lines, 129 and 130. Let's see. This one is clean. We don't have to... Actually, hold on. We do need to update this. Because this should not be... Why did that line wrap? That's annoying. Hold on. Let me look at this real quick. Oh, okay. I see what we're doing here. This was saying the target IP has an entry in the host table. If it does, then great. We're going to do this. Otherwise, we're going to return this agent message. So that's all good. What was I doing here? We're checking to see if it has a pre-flight check. We're checking this. Current task would be... This actually can just go away. We don't need that right here. Because we're not going to update the current task. That is Stinger's job. So let me clean this up a wee bit. There we go. Now, where does that move this to? 129 actually moved up to 126. And so this would be 127 right there, just to keep the tracker clear. Phone's ringing. It's the phone and the music. He hasn't replied back. These guys, they don't respect my messages. But yeah. Yeah, I think I don't know what happened to the M1. It looked like it was going to be pretty cool. Oh, so this is making a new stub host, which is fine. Ah, okay, so 126 and 127, these are the two we need. So did I already have, put a marker there to remember it. Did I already get an output host in here? I did. Okay. So we need to update that. So this is not going to be how we want to do this. This is going to be output host is now going to be equal to actually here I can do it like this. Let's modify this. Hey, Clip It, thanks for coming online, man. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set that as the key, and then we're going to then set that just as the target host right there. So easy peasy lemon squeezy. Got it. Oh, I'm missing a thing there. There we go. Now we got it. And then now this is our task here where, so this will be our output task, right here. Let's change that. the individual task that we're going to do. And then our task string is going to be equal to meow. All right, let's see. This one is fine. We don't have to worry about that. Here's hoping I didn't screw up the logic, though, with all the find and replace that we got to do. Okay, so now it's checking the task string. So if the task string is not none, where was the other end of this? Right here. I'll leave that in there for now. It's not a big deal. All right, so here's our task string. Where's the next one? So 126 and 7, those got modified. So then 163-ish was where the next one was happening. So that's up here. Here we go. We've got an immutation append route meow. So this should be our input task. Or sorry, no, this should be our output task because we're writing to it. Output task, we're going to append the exploit task to it. And then now we need to modify these. So for tasks, we're just going to do our output task directly, our current task. We shouldn't need this because we shunted that back over to Stinger. And then for host, this should be our output host like that. There we go. Cool, that fixes that one. This one is fixed. I actually need to go, hold on, while I'm here, let me look something quick. So if task string is not none. Here's where we do the language model call. We actually get the information, we return it back down. Okay. So 163 is done, but that was actually line 160 because we've took some lines out. So this is probably 174. Let's see. That was close. 173. Right here. Right about meow. Here we go. What's the program doing? How many syntax errors are left? So, funny enough, Clip, they weren't actually syntax errors. What was happening here is, and hold on, I've got a diagram for it. Where is it? So, this program is a little AI hacking bot designed to go play CTF games. Stuff like Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, whatever. The whole thing is written in using a library called LangGraph. And in LangGraph, it handles this part right here, the workflow between these nodes and a state table for handling the management and execution of everything. So as these nodes are invoked, they're basically Python functions. The state table gets passed to that, and then we should return changes we want to the state table. However, if we make changes to that state table directly in the node, they actually propagate back up here and they bypass all the returning functions. So the reason that happens is because in Python, functions, when you pass an object to them, not like a very primitive idea like an integer or even a string, when you pass those objects, it actually does something called pass by reference, which is it's passing a memory pointer to where this state table lives in memory. So then if you make modifications to it, it's modifying whatever's at that memory address, being the primary state table. So what we're doing now is, it worked, everything was going fantastic, but it wasn't the proper way to do the state management. It wasn't very clean. It also gave us a lot of extra verbose output that we didn't need. So as we go through and clean this up, what we're doing is we're adding in something called reducers. That's what these yellow lines are. What should happen is we should return data. It should be passed through reducer functions that say, okay, here's how I'm going to take the current data and the new data and merge them together, and then properly append them to the state table. So before, what was happening is I was modifying any data we wanted to send back to the state table and then just returning those primary keys. It was very inefficient. I didn't quite realize exactly how it was working until I noticed a weird effect. And then as I started digging down to it, that's when you saw this event happen. So everything is working up through the exploitation agent. In fact, here, I'll show you the diagram real quick. Boop. So here's the rough overview of it. This is Stinger, which is the supervisor. So Stinger comes in and says, okay, here's our target. What are we going to do with it? And it will go through and do some reconnaissance. Eventually, this will pass back to Stinger, and it will say, oh, okay, let me go see how this is going to work. And then it should iterate through this. Stinger right now just does very basic stuff. It doesn't have any intelligence to it. It'll actually be the last agent that we go fix. But once it goes through this workflow, there's one more agent we need to add, which is going to be our post-exploitation agent. And that's going to be the hardest one because we're going to actually integrate it over into Mythic C2 and let it handle everything that way. So we're working on it, getting it all cleaned up. Exploit was working, and it was working fine, but it had the polluted state mutations in it. So we're cleaning all those out, doing proper state handling, so that way we'll already have it set up. We can come over to PostX. I was planning on doing this part later, but it really is making it nasty. It's making it nasty. Oh, you're nasty. All right, where's our return state? We don't have to worry about this one. We do need to worry about this one, which is we need to update a task. So let's come bust out. This is fine. Exploit task index, exploit task, exploit task. Here's the first one though, because we're setting the task to this. So let's go modify this. This will be our input right here. We don't need an output one for this. And then what we do need though is we need an input task. Actually, we'll do this. That's going to be a list of task objects. And this is actually going to equal this guy, right? Meow. Let's swap in that variable, right, meow. And then we're going to bust this out. So we're going to have we have two different variables. We have our input task list, and then we have our input task directly. That's going to be a task variable. And that is going to be equal to input task like so. We probably actually don't even need to do this one. It just helps out a little bit. There we go. So there's our pre-flight check. Oh wait, actually this needs to come down a bit right here. So I'm going to bring this down. Input task pre-flight check equals true. There we go. Actually, where did this one happen? 191. This was where we assign it validated. So that was originally on line 190. Hold on. If I take out one space, it realigns, I think, everything in here. There we go. Good. That realigns the list, so I don't have to worry about still messing with it. All right, so 173. That was the pre-flight check. Fixed that one. Ratch me out. All right, so then 190 was the next one. Okay, so this is checking, did we actually have an initial access exploit in here? So if it's none, then we say, okay, there's no initial access exploit. That's all fine. So then the next thing we need to do is we need to modify this one. So we need to go set up our output variables as well. Ah, I actually screwed this up. This should be like that. So that should be a task. And yes, so that should be good. Let's see. So this one right here is where we need to actually bust this up. So now let's make an output task real fast. Actually, you know what? I screwed this up. This should have been an output task right here. So what we're going to do is now we're going to say output task is going to be a deep copy of the input task right there. There we go. So we should never be writing to an input task. Those should be read only. This is actually going to be what we're going to be working with. So now what we can do is come through and modify this. This should be input current task, like so. What line were we on? 190? Let's see. So in line 190, here we go. So this is going to be just our input task, or our output task status. So, ta-da. And then we find out what our question and answer and reason is. All that's good. We render our verdict, and then we return it. So now instead of returning all of these tasks in the entire array, we could just return the one output task, and the new reducer will merge that in. Yeah, it's been a really fun project, Clip. A lot of learning, a lot of tinkering. One of the things that this is doing very well is handling... It's basically handling the state and the context. It does a really good job of both so far. Been working really hard to keep those nice and toit, like a toiger. But part of that was having all this stuff come up. I think this one's fine, actually. Let's see. So 190, that was done. 195. Hold on, what was 195? Oh, actually, yeah, we need to go modify this. This would be our output right here. That's our output task. Yeah, so 195 is done. Now, what's the error it's throwing right here? Hold on, let me back that out real quick. Task, current task, verdict. Hold on, what was the shape of the task verdict here? Let me see. Where's our task? There's our task answer. Here's our task. What's the verdict? Yeah, that should be fine. Why you pitching a fit? Let me make sure I didn't screw this up. So output task is a deep copy of the individual task, input task, which is a specialized target of the input task list. Which, come to think of it, I don't think we even need this part right here. I'm going to take this out. We are just going to pull it directly from the state table. We're going to get rid of you. Because we don't need a task list. That was extraneous. So you replace the current task index with a current task ID or a stable ID and store the task in a dictionary key by ID. Kind of. So a lot of these were done by... A lot of the state table is actually done as lists. So for example, the messages is a list. The task or a list in here. The context is a list of strings and hosts. So a lot of it's iterating over those. But some of these do have current dictionaries. But what I've done is we have a special case where, hey, when they're not a dictionary, when it's a dictionary, it's real simple. We just got a dictionary merge function right here. That's the reducer it's going to use. For the task list, though, because everything does have an ID value assigned to it, yeah, the tasks are doing that just fine, but they're doing it in the list format as opposed to doing it by, like, object key. Well, I guess technically if you say, like, the task is an object and it has its own ID key, so we can dedupe on that. I thought I already had this. Ah, here we go. That's why I needed a different no inspection answer here. There we go. Yeah. It's really fun. All the code is up on the BlaiseBits GitHub. Also, if you want to go pull it down, it is super, super rough. There's a lot of manual setup and configuration if you want to tinker with it. But it is, all the code is up on GitHub. Eventually, once I finish... Oh, that's the wrong one. Once the post-exploitation gets post-ex agent gets implemented, so for a quick rundown, recon and enumeration are gathering data and is trying to figure stuff out. Exploit's job is to take all the gathered information and then attempt doing exploitation, getting what's called, and it has one work unit that it has to return, which is an initial access exploit, and it's a predefined object in there. Once it defines that initial access exploit, that is essentially going to get passed over to PostX, and PostX is then going to look at it and say, okay, I need to upgrade this to C2, and then we're going to start running through additional loops with it while we're running on this system. So at that point, we'll probably start making more specialty agents. This is think of this like an external recon and an internal enumeration agent. Probably go through and make additional ones for this for doing like local on system privilege escalation checks, things like that, and have it run through and let it do that. And that's where I think that LangGraph deep agent is going to come in handy. So, but that's kind of the flow of it. We'll have PostX integrate to Mythic, upgrade the initial access exploit to a full C2, and then work on doing privilege escalation, capturing the root flag, things like that. Once that's done, we actually still need to go fix up Stinger, because right now we basically breadcrumb it. We give it information saying, here's your task that you need to do, and here's how you, not how you do it, but what you need to achieve, and we let the workflow go through and do its error correcting and search for everything. Once that is done, we're going to take those out, and we're going to let Stinger basically just have the most minimal context. Like, here's a description of the room, and here is the target IP address. And then, boom, let it go. I think one of the things I'll probably do is I'll probably make a little helper script in here. So that way, I don't have to keep redoing the seed runs. I could basically store the state in a pickle for this one like we do here. So I have a dirty little hack in here. So to get to exploit, you have to go through all the recon enumeration and gathering everything. But the exploitation agent actually has a dirty little hack here where this pickle function actually, when the state gets passed to it, it saves a copy of it to disk, or if a blank state is sent to it, it loads the copy from disk. So we'll do the same thing over with the, do the same thing over with the post-exploitation agent, except I'll probably have a helper script to go read that pickle file and update the IP addresses. So that way I don't have to just keep rerunning through the entire thing. I don't have to do the seed runs anymore. I could just run that update and it should be good. All right, where were we on the to-do list? Let's see. That one was setting the verdict to the task answer. That was line 195. Oh, I lost my spot. There it is. Mouse wheel's a little squirrely on me. So I'm going to bust this down a little bit to realign everything. Okay. Next one is down on line 305. Yeah, that makes sense because handoff doesn't mutate anything. Exploit router is just a read-only function. The step planner is... Yep, I know exactly where this is happening. Actually, hold on. This is not correct. Did I already fix this one? I think I did. Yeah, I think I started working on the exploit step planner. To one that builds the steps that it needs to do the exploit, and then we went on from there. So this returns output task. Oh, but actually, look, this is doing it the wrong way. Because see that? Output task is not a copy of that. So without that deep copy, we're still actually... So it was fixed, but not really, because as it was referencing this, it's referencing a memory address to a memory address to a memory address. And when it does that, it's still mutating the state table up here this way, right, through the blue path, instead of going through the yellow path of doing the reducer. Yeah. Yeah, I think I started on this one, Gumby, and then bailed and said, let me go do the rest of them, and we'll come back to this, and we'll just do them in order. At least that's not a bad thing, though, because all I have to do is modify the deep copy here. Oh, okay. After I do these, I'll have to do one more. Let me add another to do here, which is going to be check for indirect state modifications. Yeah, we'll have to do that too. All right, because that one was a mistake, but I think that's the only one I actually modified in here. All right, where's the next one? 305. This is done. Let me turn that off. Here's 305 right here. Okay. So this one needs to return an updated task to this from the step processor. So I think I started doing the same thing here. Oh, let me see. No, because if it still says state task, then I know that we haven't modified this one. So let me think about this one. So this gets us our exploit task index. We get our exploit task. So I'm going to put these as input variables in here, which is going to break some stuff. So here's our exploit steps. That should come from right about, yeah. So there's also a little bit of naming confusion that might happen here. So the way this is all structured out is we have our list of tasks, right? So what we have is we have tasks, and then under a task, it has an output field. Let me back that out. Yeah, so under here we have an output field, and the output field is actually an array. And then under this, we have nested exploit tasks. So they're distinct, different from regular tasks. They're designed to allow it to go through and make mistakes and do error correction. And then under in here, we have a list of steps in here. And this is also an array right here, like that. So like I said, a lot of listing going on here. So we're not working with this section up here. We're working down here in this exploit task. So we'll do the same thing though. We'll go just modify the entire task, and then inside that task, we'll modify the exploit task that's nested under it and let it work on it. Oh, the nesting is going to be a pain. So do you want the nodes to pass directly to each other, or do you want the states to store only pointers or references instead of the big objects? So the whole idea here is, and let me give you a concrete example. So let's go over to the exploit agent here. So the exploit agent has, bring this right, meow, put this right, meow, and we'll just stick these over here. All right, so this is the main meat and potatoes of the exploit task, right? So once it comes in and it starts, every one of these nodes gets passed a copy of the state table, but it's not really a copy, it's a memory reference. And then as it passes through each of these nodes, it emits whatever updates are going to be made to the state table, merges them in, and then sends that updated version to the next node. So it always works that way. That's how we keep track of what the state table is doing between nodes. Now, to give you an example of where it was busted, let me come over and pull up one of the traces real quick. So in our traces here, right, here you see like, okay, here's where we entered the recon agent, right? This whole recon graph. And you see we have a list of the input state. So we can come through and we can see everything that was coming in, right? And then, well, okay, this is let me come up to this one. This is an individual node. This was the entire graph right here. So here's all of our input data. So this is the state as it entered the recon agent node. And then here's all the information that came out that we returned to it here. So before, I had to return this entire key right here. So if we had multiple hosts, we'd have to dig through all of those to see what changed. And same thing with the task. We would have a list of every single task that was happening in here. Instead, now we can look at it and say, oh, okay, cool. This particular ID was the one that was modified, and then we can see what changes were made to it by comparing it up here to the input. Before, what would happen is this data that showed up in the output, when we were doing the direct state mutations or pollutions, I was calling them pollutions, I would actually see that output data down here. So like the tool calls, there should have been no tool calls coming in to the recon agent. The recon agent makes the tool calls. It should have been in the output. However, if I look down here, I would have seen that data in the tool calls list. So, ooh, did you make me tea?
I did.
Oh, thank you. Sock made me some tea. She's so sweet. So yeah, the goal here, Clip, is to go through and have a very clean state management. That's all LangGraph does. A lot of people get confused between the difference between LangGraph and LangChain. LangChain handles talking to the language model as an API endpoint and being helpful, having helper functions around all of those different accoutrements that come from it. Sock definitely missed me, and she said Agent Zero while I was gone was literally every morning at breakfast counting down the days. Like, only 2 more days till Daddy comes home. I was like, aw. He's my sweet kid. Honey Badger definitely does not defeat the stereotype of if you had to pick one of your children to commit a felony, which one is it, and why is that the middle child? Hey, Zip, what's up, man? Yeah, we're polluting. We're trying to be less polluting. We're trying to pull a little Captain Planet here. In fact, hang on one sec, guys. I gotta go run and take care of something. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I'm back. All right, let's see here. In Python, we call them lists. It is a list. Except now I don't have to return the entire list back. I can, with the reducers, I can just return the one element I want to update in the list. By the way, Ben, next time I think I remember where you're living now, since you got the new job. Next time I'm up that way, I'll let you know. It probably won't be for a bit, I don't think. I don't have any other work trips planned right now, but typically sometimes like once a quarter, my team tries to have like a team get together. So if it happens, it probably won't happen until like maybe April or something. April or May. I need to change that. Doop. Fix that right there. Let me double check this real quick. Yeah, this is purely an enumerator, so that's fine. Dude, what's funny is it was colder in Vegas than it was here in Dallas. It was like in the I think it was like in the upper 30s and 40s in Vegas, and it was like in the 50s here. Yeah, I know, Gumby. I mean, that's going to be like a one-time thing for the for going chasing, because usually it'd be like, oh, well, it'll be probably like a week in there. Typically, this company's really cool too in the fact that usually we have like a travel day. So like Monday was a travel day. We had meetings all day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday was a travel day. And see, I didn't sleep Thursday night. I started working on something. So I'll tell you, we had the hackathon with all the other offensive consultants, right? And we're working on stuff, some really neat things. And I decided I wasn't done working on it. And I just started playing with it in my hotel room after dinner. And I look up and it's like 2 a.m. and my flight is supposed to leave at 6. I was like, okay, well, I'm just not going to sleep. So I ended up just working through the night, and I got into the plane and put my noise canceling headphones on, and I was out. I was out before the wheels were up. And then I woke up about, I don't know, 10 minutes before we landed. I was done. All right, so where are we looking at here? We're looking at 305. So 305 is our mutation to meow. So we need to get a copy of the... So we're going to return that task back. So what we need is we have an input exploit task. Right, meow. That's totally fine. We need an output task is what we need. So we're going to take this part right here. And we'll make that our output task. And that's going to be a task object. It's going to be like this. Doop. Just like so. So what are we writing to this? We're changing it to working, and then we're writing to the scratch pad. Okay. Yeah, I think we can do that. Run it on China. This is not meant to be something like, if you saw the article from Anthropic, which was honestly just a giant fear-mongering article, talk about we disrupted the first nation-state AI-powered hacking thing, and they're like, these guys were using Claude code. It's like, yeah, but they were so scrubbed here, they didn't get anything beyond what an actual like advanced, like not even advanced, a very basic attacker would get. They had super minimal success, and they were so scrubbed here. They were doing this in from Anthropic's hosted Claude code. I was like, bro, if you really wanted to do this, you could have used Claude code, and you could have just gone to OpenRouter and purchased your own, data set, or purchased your own API access and plugged that into Claude code. If you really wanted to use Sonnet. I think one of the next updates, I might do this before we actually work into the PostX agent. I'm debating, but I think I might go through and do a little refactor, because I think it's going to be necessary to make it work with OpenRouter, which means basically swapping out well, actually it should work just fine because of the way the configuration is set up in here. I don't have it open right here. Hold on, let me pull it up. Where's the configuration? Here we go. So the way the config file is set up, right? We come through and define the language model object, and then we expose that out to all the other agents so they can just directly pull this. So once that's done, we come make one config change. Should be no problem to allow it to slot in OpenRouter. However, I want to go through and make modifications to it to where it will come through, and I want to be able to modify it so that if we want to go change models real quickly, we can. Eventually, also, I think we're going to add in different language models. So that way, once we're connected over to OpenRouter, we can actually use a mixture of models in here. So we can say, okay, cool, here's the mixture we're going to use. This is going to be our reasoning model. This is going to be our coding model. This is going to be our maybe our tool calling model. our planner, things like that. So we can then start slotting in different models into different sections for it. I may do that update before we actually start on the PostX agent. Nah, I probably won't. But that is a future update I'm planning to put in here. All right, so this needs to change to... Did we finish putting the output task? Okay, yes, we did. However, this needs to be a deep copy. There we go. So that's a deep copy there. And then now we can change... Anywhere we got references to state current task, we can swap that. And this, I believe, should be input. There we go. So now what we're doing is we're making a copy to that. And now our output task should just be like so. Ta-da! All right, that should fix up 305 and 306. Yep, and that return, those two should be good. Excellent. Let's save that. And then we have 336. What did we write? Did we even write anything to the scratch pad? Oh, yeah, we did. Okay, perfect. So yeah, we append that to the scratch pad. There's our tool router. That one should be fine. So the next one we need to look at is line 336. Oh, it shifted a little bit. Which one is this? This was writing to the scratch pad as well. Ah, so it moved up by 1. Easy solution. There we go. Now we're realigned. All right, so 336 is right here. Yep, so this right here, we'll want to change this to output task. But we don't actually have an output task right here, so we'll add that in. Where does this get used? Oh, that gets used right there. Okay. So let's do this. So we'll define an output task. It's going to be a task type. And that is not going to equal that. That's going to equal this. Yeah, I like that. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put one more break right here. Because when I come and put that in... Actually, hold on. Back that up. Didn't I leave myself some space in here? I can take that out. So all I'm doing, I'm just doing a little bit of updates up ahead to try and realign the code of where it's going to be. So there's 336, which is actually 335, which is fine because now I can take this guy, take this, pull that out of the state, and then now, there we go. Excellent. So now that's going to the output task, but that needs to be a deep copy, a little bit of deep copy, and a little bit of deep pasta. Hey, Drewski, what's up, man? Hey, don't worry about sounding dumb, Clip. I sound dumb all the time. Would it be faster to treat the state as a lightweight control plane and pass references between the nodes, only writing a small checkpoint once per cycle, so that might avoid the step-by-step updates, speed things up, and remove the need for trimming the pickle afterwards? I mean, it might, but honestly, all the state management is handled by LangGraph. So that would be more of an idea of looking at the LangGraph library to do it. This is pretty slim. And like I said, I got lucky with the way I was architecting it in the beginning, where I was only mutating the state table for variables that were needed to be updated anyway. However, going through, I realized that's what was causing a little bit of trace oddities. And so this will help clean it up quite a bit. Those reducers are going to help everything else. That's actually why I think a lot of folks will go through and they will prototype things in LangChain and LangGraph, but then they'll come through and they'll write their own libraries to do those same functions. Probably to make it more efficient, a little bit more speedful, maybe not even in Python. So LangChain and LangGraph are definitely good for that. A lot of folks I don't think actually like to use it in production. I like it though. It's been working just fine. Granted, this is not supposed to be a heavy multi-user environment. It has the capabilities to do that, but honestly, this is meant to be a single person, single user, working in one CTF range. That's it. So now we have the output task. Let's see. Yep, there we go. That was actually a really easy one, because then we just have to update this one task. It will automatically insert it over into the state table. We are Gucci. And same thing here. So here's our step revisor. So this is going to be the next one in here. So that was, what, 336 we just modified? So now 402 is the next one. So this is the single biggest node in this whole thing, which is the revisor. It's our error correction in here. So see, for example, you notice how up here, I make some references to like what the task is and everything, but we never write to these up here. And then whenever we were writing changes, they were getting written directly to the state table. So even though we were polluting it, it was being polluted with the correct return data. So I migrated everything to be closer to my router so I could have a wired connection. Nice. I got lucky when I bought this house that it was already wired for Cat 5. And so I don't feel the need to go update it to Cat 6 or anything. All the stuff that's working between systems is all on the same switch. So if I really wanted to, I could update that switch. I have a 1 gig fiber line, so I'm not getting more than 1 gig off the network anyway, out to the internet. So I haven't really had a reason to go update. And honestly, if I was going to update it, I would probably just update everything to Wi-Fi 7 and just use that. All right, so what are we looking at? We're looking at line 402, this one right here. Okay, so everything that we're returning is just an individual task right there. So easy peasy. All we have to do is come up to right about meow. This one's not even being used. So what we'll do is we're going to change this to output task, like so. It was being used in one spot right here. That's funny. Okay, fine. I'll do this. We'll change this to, let me refactor this one. Change this to input task, like that. And then this one will just be changed to an individual task instead of being a list. And then what we'll do is we'll make this a deep copy of that. Boom. There we go. I heard that Cat 567 think it's a myth and doesn't move any faster. I mean, it depends on anything, right? So there's several things here. So if you have a bunch of network nodes, so let's say, for example, you've got a computer and a server, and they're all connected to a switch, right? And then this is connected up to your router, and then that's connected up to the cloud, otherwise known as the internet or someone else's computer, right? everything along these lines is only going to move as fast as the slowest link, right? So if you've got a 10 meg link here, it doesn't matter if this is like a 2.5 gig link. You're only going to get 10 gig from this box, right? So it's only going to move as fast as the slowest link. And then if you've got maybe 100 meg, internet connection, that's all you're going to be stuck with. So even if this one was, let's say it's a 1 gig link, right? Yeah, you'll get 1 gig here, you'll get 1 gig here, but you're not going to get 1 gig out to the internet. Now, let's say you had another server here that also had a 1 gig link. Yeah, you'll get 1 gig between these two nodes. But anything from this server, you're going to be limited to that, whatever that 10 meg, or let's say, for a more practical example, 100 meg. You're going to be limited to that. But even at 100 meg, this box might not be able to talk as fast as possible to the internal nodes, but it's going to get full line speed out to the internet. I had to spend the weekend troubleshooting dropped packets. Ooh, what was the reason for it? Did you figure it out? All right, let's look at line 402 here. Here we go. Yep, so that right there, let me double check. Yep, so output task is our deep copy of the current task. So we can mutate that, that's no problem. Let's clean that one up. And then what do we have? 408. Yeah. All these guys right here. Ooh. Yeah, these should be fine. Yes, because all these are nested under the output task. So, perfect. This is just fine right here. Because of this nesting structure, right? I was trying to double think, is like, are we really just updating the task? Yeah, we are. Because this one individual task, so we're going to target one element in this array. I'm sorry, we're going to target one element in the task array. So this is actually a member of an array. We target one particular element in there, and then it has all these nested structures down in it. So yeah, that will be fine. We'll lean a little heavily on, the, what is it? We'll lean a little heavily on the Python garbage collector. That's all right, though. I don't think we even left bailout in there. I don't think I actually left. I think this is a vestigial code. I don't remember where I referenced that. Where is exploit bailout defined? I think I took that out. I think that was part of the troubleshooting when I was trying to decide on the function flow. I don't think that even exists anymore. Think it might be the Verizon router. Gotcha. Yeah, there we go. Exploit bailout is not defined anywhere in the code base, but it's referenced in exploit agent, never actually created. Okay, that's what I thought. I didn't think that's how we worked on this. Let me see. Let me try one more thing. How are, let's see, exploit tasks marked as failed? Have Claude just go read my spaghetti code so I can remember it. I think that probably is going to come back for the exploit task update, though. So, but you're plugged in directly to the router, Drewski, because then you shouldn't be getting dropped packets from that, man. Hang on one sec, guys. Just remembered something I need to fix. I knew there was something I forgot to do. I forgot to turn on a couple of the stream monitors so I could keep track of stuff. There we go. Okay. Miss one stream and forget to turn on the monitors. There we go.
Incoming transmission from Marano Gumby. Check time.
Thank you, because I forgot to put the timer on, Gumby. Appreciate it, boo. All right. Let me see here. No. No.
Incoming transmission from Marano Gumby. You're welcome, Daddy.
Let me double check something real quick, because I did call you boo, but you didn't have to call me daddy. Dude, that freaking gosh, what was that? What was the name? Solo leveling abridged. And like he gets so pissed off whenever all the girls call him daddy. God, it's so funny. That show cracked me up. By the way, guys, so when I told you all I was like neck deep in reporting the week of New Year's. Yeah, I was. I was so deep in it. I had my little tablet playing, and I watched 3 seasons of Suits while I was working on that report. It's been a lot of time on it. Yeah, so we can never hit exploit bailout. I think we actually define that in the prompt. Hold on, I'm actually curious. I want to try, let's see. Check the prompts for the exploit agent. Does it have instructions for when a exploit task should fail? I know I can go look this up, and I have, and I've done it many times. I've been experimenting more with Claude for other projects, so I don't have it write anything except for the to-do list, but I do want to see like kind of what it's doing in here. Hey Max, yeah, that show Suits with the lawyers. I'm a sucker for that show. Yeah, I agree. It's mostly a background listen to show. Interesting. I'm just curious to see, because I've told it nothing about this. There's no Claude MD or whatever. So I'm just kind of seeing, I want to see what it does, what it says. Let's see, where did I send the instruction? Let me see here. What was the last instruction I sent to it? Okay. So where's exploit bailout defined? How are exploit task marked as failed? And then I told it, what else did I tell it? I think I went up too far. There we go. Oh, there we go. So this is the input. Check the prompt to see if the exploit. So yeah, the prompt does have instructions for failing the exploit task. Let's see. So if the exploit task approach appears to hit a dead end or doesn't return, do not return exploit task updates. Instead, return exploit step updates. Return exploit task updates. Set the initial access exploit to null, and the status field to failed. Okay. So yeah, that is completely vestigial code. We don't need it anymore. Yeah, because I said we don't even have a bailout option anymore. That was, I guess I left that in when I was working on how we were going to modify this. Because it used to be that in this steps array, the reviser could only modify a single step in here. And then we give it an option to actually modify the entire list. And then on top of that, it can also modify a few key variables up in the exploit task. So we gave the agent a lot more control, so that way it would be able to fully modify things. And when we did that, it worked out really good. So actually, Clip, you were talking about, would it be easier to maybe try and reduce some of the stuff that that we have going back and forth? There is. So there's a step in here. These steps actually keep track of a lot of data of like what flowed in, what flowed out, how tool calls were executed. So when that happens, though, that's a lot of data when it returns this entire array for the language model to try to track. Plus, it costs a lot because we're paying for output tokens. So instead, it returns a null value, and then we reintroduce all that information from the current state to whatever's going to be the return state back into it. So we sub all that information back in. It helps optimize it a bit. Gets us faster returns, and also the copy operations are real simple. Some shows start as background and then you become invested, e.g. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Now, two things about that. One, I have been meaning to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Number two, I love that you used EG instead of IE, because I'm a stickler for that. If you don't know the difference, IE is whenever you give like a generalized example, but EG is when you give a concrete example. So if you had said like IE, some space opera, some comedy show, whatever, that would have been an example, like a general example. But he gave a specific example of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which looks freaking hilarious. And yeah, I'm afraid that if I watched that, I wouldn't be a background show, Max. I would be too distracted by it. All right, let's check the to-do list. So 408, which is here. So yeah, we're modifying the output task. So now this should just be our individual output task. Boop, like so. All right, that should be good now. So let's update the to-do list. All right, almost done with this. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we got enough time to finish this off tonight. Sweet. All right, where's 409? Got 409 also. 411. Got that one. And then it also said 413, which was a state. Oh, we actually nuked that one out. So that's it. Nice. Okay. Recheck the code for state changes or mutations. I'd say if you were wanting to learn coding at this state in the game, this is one of the ways you could actually use AI to help out. It's very handy to go through and dig through and make sure you understand all the various places that the code is reading from and where it's acting upon, especially if you should know it because you've written it. But sometimes when you've got big changes like this, it's really handy to just go through and say, okay, hey, I know I made this change. This was a pattern. Go find me all the matching places for this pattern. We should be good. Oh, here we go. So let's go see. It actually found something real quick. So it said line. Let's go back up to here. All right, so we told it recheck all the code for state change mutations. Most violations are fixed. Let me verify the current state of exploit pi. Found one indirect state mutation. So it says line 86 and 87 has an indirect state mutation. So let's go look at that real quick. Oh, it does, because that is supposed to be a deep copy. There we go. So, good call there. So we fixed that. I keep trying to alt-tab back over, but I can't. Okay. So here's where we set up this. We do target IP, initial access exploit. We append the IAE, because that's another list, because I just like lists a lot, apparently. We have test code. Let's see. That's an internal state, not the stinger state. Okay. Okay, very cool. Now, what's funny is it says this is a shallow copy, but it really isn't, and that mutates the state. That was actually really cool that it realized that. The 4.5 models are pretty cool, but at the same time, Anthropic's, it's not like they're the bastion of all things language models. So as part of the Blaise's LLM confirmed, I am absolutely not an LLM. I'm a multimodal. Thank you, Cypher. Now all you nerds are going to try and do prompt injections in the chat, because I know you are. Because you're all a bunch of nerds. And despite what anybody says, prompt injection is... I don't know. I wonder what the legality of a prompt injection is. I'm not sure. I wonder if the law is vague enough that it would encompass doing a prompt injection to, you know, trigger an unwanted action from a language model. Oh, I think I did miss that message, Drewski. My bad. Let's see. Oh, I fixed one part of the issue by buying a new cable, so now Twitch just fluxes between qualities. That is kind of weird, dude. Well, as is true of many things, Max, I mean, the law usually tends to lag behind many of those things. Alright, let's go try something here. Let's see. Unfortunately, I don't think it saved any of those. It did not. All right, that's fine. Let me grab the test data and let's do a full run on it here. And we'll see what happens. Now, there's still a chance it might fail in here because it might go to the exploit agent. And the exploit agent is not perfect. There's no perfect way to exploit something usually. I mean, there is, but the language model is going to take weird routes sometimes, so it might try to bypass that doesn't quite work, but it's fine. It bounces between 160p and 4K. Hold on, how are you doing that on Twitch? Because Twitch only goes up to 1080-60. It doesn't ever go up to 4K. No way, did they add 4K to Twitch? Hold on. Yeah, no, it only goes up to 1080p. So, I mean, maybe on YouTube it will. There's a 4K beta on Twitch. How are they gonna afford that? Because Twitch, their primary expense is bandwidth. And Twitch has never made money. So how are they gonna allow 4K? Maybe it's just for like some of the bigger streamers, like I'm trying to think who. I don't know. The only ones I can think of offhand are like maybe like Asmongold. He's got like 30,000 freaking people watching him, or some of the other ones that are real big, like even like Tofu. Tofu usually has like 1,000 people watching him. 4K beta for AV1? Oh, 2K. Ooh, still. Trash Puppy was in 4K earlier? Nice, hold on. I hadn't heard about this. They got the Bezos bucks. Hold on one sec. Let me pull. I'm gonna pull that up, but let me check. I want to check what's going on over in RoboPage to see what it's running. What's it doing? It says Enum is still running. Oh, maybe we hit an API error and it was backing off. Hold on, something's funky here. I don't want to log into Twitch. Hang on. Why is this thing being a turd? Oh, there we go. So this thing got a 2K streaming beta. I mean, that's cool, but I mean, while that is kind of neat, most people in the world actually can't, they have a hard time watching in 1080p. I love how they're like, hey, here's what 1080p looks like and 2K looks like. But, dude, you're looking at this on the same monitor. So... But they're talking about really 2K is 1440p. Well, anyway. I stream at 1080, so I think that's sufficient. But that is cool that they're kind of doing that. Discord's never made much money either. I know, and they're talking about trying to IPO Discord, which I'm worried is going to cause the, this is a technical term, enshittification of Discord. I think I might have screwed something up in here. Let me see. Yeah, look at that. The enumeration agent just ran in a loop. So what happened here? So the validator... Alright, let's come back up here to enum. Let's see what happened. So it got stuck in a loop here. So recon was fine. Yeah, it got stuck in something in enum here. That was a $4 run? No way, was it? No, it was a 25-cent run. We used roughly 58,000 input tokens and about 7,000 output tokens. But this is the key difference here. So that's why I try to keep the input and output skewed towards the lower output side, because they charge way more for the output tokens. So look at this. It's about 4x difference. So we can send a lot of data to try and get very precise output data back. I know you were trolling, Gumby, but it actually illustrated a very good point. All right, so let's see what happened here. All right, so something jacked up here. Enum agent never made a language model call. You see that? Like, we come back over here. Right, enum agent. Oh, no, because it sent it to the validator. Oh, the validator must have something jacked up in it. Yeah, I think that's what's happening. Hold on. Because what should happen is the first time a task gets sent in, it goes and does a pre-flight check. So it will completely skip doing any kind of language model call. So this should return validator down here, right? Output is enum validator, right here. So what did the validator say? So examine the task and the host data to determine if the task question can be answered correctly. So if the question cannot be answered, leave the answer response blank. Okay. what version of Apache is running. Bam, we get this back. So then the output is a task answer. All right, so let's go look at the validator here because, oh, I think I know where the problem is. It probably never marked the pre-flight check as completed. So it goes in and says pre-flight check. Hold on, there's actually an easy way we can check this. So if we come look at the enum agent here, sending task 1 to validator for pre-flight check. And if we come look at here, right, we look at the new messages returned, right? Get out here. It does it again. Sending it to so yeah, so the validator isn't doing the proper pre-flight check. So let's go look at the validator node. Ah, here's our output task. That's a deep copy of the task. Okay, let's see where all this goes. So we do make a copy of the task before we modify it. This is weird though that output host never gets used like this. I had to just go bring this up. Oh. Hey Eve, thanks for coming online, man. Welcome in. Let's move this up here. All right, so here's our output task, right? So our task gets sent right here. We're setting the pre-flight check. Hold on, also another way we can check this is we go over to the validator node, right? And we look at, from this whole chain right here, actually, we can just look at the output from this one particular call. Well, I take it back. It would be what gets returned from the validator here. So scroll down. Task unanswered passing to enum agent. The task was not unanswered though. So actually, there's a different problem here. We need to see where was the task unanswered. So it returned a task answer, right? We send it to the validator prompt. Something is funky. Yeah, this was a generic one. This wasn't specialized for recon or enum, so that should be fine. That's weird though, because for some reason it's hitting this section right here. Doot. I might have to kill the LangGraph server and restart it. We might be having something kind of stuck in the background here. Is it overkill to put a DC and MDM on your network to prevent Edge from changing my search engine? Nah. Nah. Not overkill at all. Actually, there's a really cool tool I like, Cypher. And I used it when I was setting up this computer, when I had to swap the CPU. It's called... I think it's called WinTools. Maybe it's WinUtil? Yeah, it's from Chris Titus Tech. Here. Yeah, I'll drop a link to it for everyone over in the chat. But yeah, this was actually really handy for going through and doing a lot of tweaks whenever you first load up a computer. But also, if you've got a currently already configured system, you can have it go through and do those as well. So it just loads up little PowerShell script with this nice little user interface. It does have dark mode to save your retinas. And there's a lot of different tweaks you can do in there. And a lot of the Windows bloat you can strip out. Like you can completely neuter Copilot and Recall with it. It was super handy. I've never used it before until I had to reset up this computer. Oh, I see what's happening here. Look at this. So what happens is we hit this. Yeah, task is unanswered. But oh, there's two faults here. One is it never should have hit this because we did get a valid response answer back. But also when it does this, it needs to set the pre-flight check to good. So let's do task, and we need to return the output task. However, there's a fault with this because look at the trace right here. What did we return from the validator? The validator actually said, hey, yeah, by the way, we already know what version of Apache is running. Wait a second. Hold on. That's wild. So it said actually that it didn't see any open ports in there. Hang on, let's go look at the state table. Hostname. We don't have any ports listed in here? What? Hold on. This is weird. If I got around to Bazite, I wouldn't need Windows, but until then, the tool's a must. Yeah. What's Bazite, though? Honestly, as much as I used to rip on people for using Arch all the time, but I was tinkering with Omarchy on an old ThinkPad that I've got, and actually it worked really well. I've heard some issues with how it actually operates, and so I don't know if I would want to use that as like my full desktop daily driver, but it looks interesting. So it gives me an idea of like if I wanted to go set up my own version of Arch, maybe I would do that. It worked really well. There's still a lot to be said about the stability of Windows, even if it is annoying AF. Big A, big F. CachyOS is also Arch? Oh, okay. Maybe I'll check that one out too. Because honestly, Omarchy was the first one I had tried that was a Arch derivative. Let me look at something here. Let's look at how Stinger saw this when it came back. So here's our host. Nothing came back in ports. The box is not dead. Let me make sure I got the right IP address. 67.140.74. Hold on, let's go check. Tunnel still up? Something is funky. Hold on, what's happening here? Yeah, let me come back to this one. Let's walk through the recon steps here. So recon agent. So action to perform. Perform a TCP SYN scan. Nmap goes through and does a whole buttload of stuff. Recon output formatter comes back and says, yep, here's everything. And then host update returns all this back. We do have stuff in the ports area here. Recon validator. What does it see for input? Hold on. Ports nothing. And so the validator comes back, and what does it say? Well, it did actually return a zero, answer of 0, so that technically validated. However, it looks like there's something wrong in the host update, because look at that. Host update returned all this information. However, if we look at the execution from the node's perspective, here's all of our input stuff. We have no ports. That's fine. But if we look at the output here, what the hell? There's all the ports right there. Hold on, so we got all the port data back. It returned it. But then what happened to Recon Validator? Validator has everything in here. See that? Hold on. How does the output look from the Recon Validator? Because it's gonna do state table changes. So what does the output look like for this? So it returns a host field. So here's what's going on. So the host field from the validator nukes off the ports. Okay, I see. Damn it. But wanted to switch to language for a while, but I got choice paralysis. If you really want to start tinkering with it, Omarchi actually was really cool. It was very nice for tinkering. I'm sure it might be more stable. I did a big no-no when I was updating it, and I didn't have my laptop plugged in, and it borked the update process and completely killed the install. I had to start from scratch. So that was a my oops. I set up a custom Hyperland before it came out. Oh, cool. Dude, I like the design of it. And plus, one of the things that was cool is Omarchi instantly recognized the older GPU that was in that old ThinkPad, and it had no problem connecting to external monitors. Once I figured out how to go through and set the layout of the different positions of the monitors in the text file, that was no problem. It was a lot of fun. I could actually see using Hyperland for a daily driver also banned. I would like it. Yes, did break it a little bit. It looks like let me check the time on the box real quick. All right, we still got time on the box. It looks like what's happening is Recon Validator is nuking off the ports. See that? It's an empty dictionary. So we gotta go check the validator now. So what did it say? Task 0 validated. Okay, so if it comes back and says task 0 validated, that's this execution loop right here. Oh. Oh, I think I know where I screwed this up. No, that should be fine. So here's our output host, which is a deep copy of this guy, right? Let me move that down. So there's our target IP. We get that from the task, and then we make our deep copy of the host object here. This one we're modifying it a little bit differently, where when we return the host, the return is actually being structured this way. So let's double check it. So here's our output host. We set the output task as true. Let me double check the returns here. So we do return the task, we do return the host. I think for sensibility, because this is the only function that returns like this, where it's in the dictionary, I think let's modify this a bit. So our output host, we're going to modify this. So what we're going to do is we'll make that the key, and then we'll have the deep copy nested inside there. Just like so. Actually, let me double check something. Is this the only place I actually do this? Now, see, this is usually how I was doing it right here. Yeah, let's go do that again. Let's go back down to the validator. I want to, because I would like to have this kind of match what we were doing. So, validator, here we go. I'm going to change that, and this is not going to be a host type. It's going to be a dictionary matching a string to a host. There we go. All right, so now, and then we got to start targeting the correct entry in there. There we go. Max, you talk about that CachyOS was the best one? Hold on. Let's see. Bad side is like SteamOS a clone before Valve released their builds. Oh, okay. Gotcha. So you're talking about bad side. See, I usually stick to Debian derivatives. This Omarchy was my first foray into Arch derivatives, Drewski, so I can get that about Linux Mint. Only thing about Arch I don't care too much for is the package management aspect, in which I know most people like about it. I get it. At least with Arch, you don't have to directly go pull and build everything. At least they do have the community build versions, which I thought was nice. I don't remember, but I think Omarchy was using ZSH. Was it? I don't recall. I didn't check it out. So that needs to be output host, and then again we need to target IP here. I think I actually might have screwed that up here just a second ago. Yeah, this shouldn't be target IP. That should be the variable, because that's the key. Yeah, and then we can just change this to output host. That should hopefully clean it up right there. Oh, now this change is actually going to need to be propagated back over to the recon host, the recon agent. So hold on, what change was this? This was done. This was all done over the validator. So I got to go fix the validator here. One of the updates I'm going to do after Stinger gets completed is I'm going to probably abstract the recon and enumeration agent into a generalized agent, and then let it basically let recon and enum be instantiations of those, be instances of them. I got too used to Mac and Debian to dive into Arch, but Omarchy seems like it's very accessible. It seems like it is, actually. So I posted up on Twitter, I don't know if y'all saw it. I think I posted up there where it's like I was just trying to find a charger, and then finally realized that through accumulation over the years, I have, between personal and work stuff, I've got like 5 MacBooks in my house, and not a single freaking one uses the same charger. It's so annoying. So I've got an old one that's like a 2012 MacBook that still runs phenomenal. And I might actually try throwing Omarchi on there just for grins and giggles and see how it runs. All right, where did I make changes here? So task output is going to need to change for task unanswered, pass it to enum agent. So yes, we're going to need this. And then we need to change how output hosts is handled right here. In fact, I'm just going to grab this whole chunk right here. We'll just go swap that in. There we go. And that should break some stuff down. Meow. Actually, I'm going to grab this whole thing right here. That's what I'm going to do. Because I've made lots of little changes in here. I'm too lazy to go figure out which ones they were. There we go. So now output host should be broken. So then this should be target IP. Like that. Yeah, so that should be good. There's where we append our verdicts. Yeah, so we did. So everywhere we had output host, we got to append that, or update that to output host right here. There we go. I mean, I think technically, actually, I could just copy the entire validator over from enum agent to it and do it. Because they are actually identical. And the only thing that's changed is this line right here. By change it from recon to enum validator. Like I said, they are almost identical clones of each other. In fact, they really are identical clones. So I'm going to just do that. I'm gonna just nuke it from the start. Go right about meow. Drop that in. Meow. Oh, it did not like that. There you go. It put an extra tab in there in the forced white spacing, broke it. That's actually one of the things I dislike the most about Python is forced white spacing. I never really got into the Red Hat derivatives band. I've worked with Red Hat a little bit, but usually just on assessments. I've never managed a Red Hat server. I never really cared for it. I always thought it was... I got the appeal to it, but I just never messed with it much. About to get another Mac for from a bank promo. So I think I'll sell it. Nice. Yeah, if it's a really nice one, dude, sell it and get a GPU before they go up in cost even more. They're talking about the RTX 5090 is going to be $5,000. It's nuts. Hey, Final Boss, what's up, man? So right now we're working on a little AI agent to go through and play hacking challenges like Hack the Box and Try Hack Me. But we're having to fix up the state management. So... Ah, damn it, I didn't mean to do that. Crap, did I lose the thread? Oh no, there we go. I still have the thread. All right, let me collapse this down just a wee bit. Sorry, we're in the middle of fixing some code here. So this is kind of the general outline to it, and that is, it comes through, it takes some user input, and then it has recon, enumeration, and exploitation agents to try and look at the box and basically hack it automatically, having some fun with it. However, each of these nodes handles a state change, and the state changes were not being handled properly, so we've been going back and refactoring and cleaning up the code to properly handle the state management. And we're just doing a test run to make sure it's working correctly. Dude, I see so many ridiculous stuff banned in real world pen tests. I don't know, dude. Some of the stuff is just absolutely redonkulous. Used FreeBSD back in the day? Based. Yeah. So yeah, this is basically just running everything on CTS for fun to see if it's even viable. And we're trying to do this in a way that is very concise, and it's not something like the Claude Code approach where it could just brute force iterate through something. Yeah, that kind of works, but the difference is Claude Code can do a lot, but in actuality, it's not super efficient. Versus if you have certain tasks that you can systematize down into a particular workflow, and then do what you can programmatically and have the language model fill in the fuzzy gaps, as I like to call it, then you can get a lot more efficient with it. So that's the idea for this kind of execution. Now, there will be something where we are probably going to use a built-in agent to LangGraph called a deep agent that we'll probably use over in the post-exploitation agent. But for the process of getting to that point, it's going to be a little bit different. The AI bubble could burst sooner. The RAM and the GPU prices are silly. Dude, the one thing I learned a long time ago, Hats, is that the market can stay irrational for a very, very long time. And if you're trying to trade stocks around something, which I used to do, or options, the market can stay way irrational way longer than you can stay solvent in your losing position, even though you know you're technically correct. I'll give you one example. I had bought, I was doing some research, and one of the guys that I follow had recommended Kodak, and I went and looked at it, and Kodak actually seemed like a really good deal. I bought some really, really long dated call options that were dirt cheap, and there was the best deal I could find. I was like, okay, cool. If this goes up, it should be really awesome. Time goes by, I kind of forget about it, and then Kodak pops. Their stock exploded, and so I go check those options. They had expired 2 weeks before that. So I think I put $500 into it. It was just a very tiny speculative play. It would have been worth 30 grand if the options had matured and I had gotten to close the position. I was in the right spot at the wrong time. Missed it by that much. No, this is not this is technically, if you want to get pedantic, Final Boss, yes, technically it isn't a browser, but this is actually just a streaming desktop from another server. That's where I'm deving it on. So, browser is over here. This is actually an embedded web browser into RoyalTS, but really it's for a remote desktop session. Yeah, I do like Proxmox. I actually need to go through and set up some stuff to test out a few things in my Proxmox server. It definitely needs some care and feeding. All right, I think these will probably be good now. Let's go do another run real quick. I just noticed what time it is. I need to wrap up the stream here, but let's just start from here. Let's go back to Stinger. Actually, we got to go all the way back up to pre-recon. Actually, we can go even a little bit further back. First thing, let me double check the server, make sure the code hot loaded. Close that. Okay, all the code hot loaded in correctly. So let's come back, because I want to avoid that call where we had to send that massive chunk of nmap data. Oh, you're not going to let me rerun from there, are you? You turd. Ah, damn it. That's the one downside to running it right here. All right, fine. We'll just have to rerun it from scratch. All right, fine. Do it the hard way. Copy. Here we go. All right, so here's it down here running inside the recon agent. I'm gonna put that right there. So what happens here is it should go through a tool calling loop, format all the output, make it nice and clean, update all the tracking, and then sit it over here.
Incoming transmission from Marano Gumby. This is your nightly remind to push it real good.
I'm pushing it. Hang on. Let me update the to-do here, because all this info can go away. Our state mutations should be good. We're just debugging them now, make sure we did them correctly. And so, it's in all of this, take that out. Okay, I'm pushing it. All right, code should be up on GitHub now. Oh, we hit an error with the enum agent. What happened there? Object none type is not subscriptable? What? Something happened in the enum validator.
Incoming transmission from Marano Gumby. Thank you, Daddy.
I wish I'd never showed you solo leveling a bridge now. Something happened on line 88. Let me go take a look at that real quick. Actually, unfortunately, I do need to wrap it up. I'm going to leave this up so we'll remember where we need to go to it. But let's go into the enum agent. Where did line 88 get jacked up? Doesn't make any sense. Oh, here's why. Yeah, that's what happened. I see. I see. I see. Okay, that's fine. We can go fix that. Yeah, that context append is not going to work right there. Okay. Dude, Max, the SAO or the solo leveling abridged is freaking hilarious, man. So rather than like leveling up his aura, he's leveling up his Riz, and it's like one of those cheap Japanese love simulator games. It's freaking hysterical, dude. I could not stop laughing at it. Also, hey kid, what's up, dude? Market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent, as a JM Kynes quote. Missed it by that much is a Maxwell Smart quote. You're hitting all the right, you're hitting all the great works. I know, right? Dude, I was so sad about that one too, because literally, I think it was the option expired, and it was about a week or two later that Kodak released their earnings, and they had just BTFO'd their earnings. And I forget the exact details of it, but when I went through and did the math, that, like I said, that $500 position expired worthless. If it had lasted for 2 more weeks, it would have been worth like 30 grand or something. It was it was painful. It sucks. It sucks being wrong, right? It extra sucks when you're right and the timing is off. That extra sucks. All right, let's go find somebody to raid out to, because it is getting late. I got another big day tomorrow. I'm gonna take in the kids riding again tomorrow, so I need to get some sleep, because it's not a restful endeavor for me whenever they're out riding. It's just me constantly listening for any signs of distress, or if I happen to hear one of the 5 engines that are running stop running, right? Because I can hear them a freaking mile away. So it's just me constantly listening, like, am I still tracking 4 engine noises going on here? Let's see. who's on right now we might be able to go raid out to? You know, Texas Miller's actually playing in the back room, so I might go right over to him. Let's see. Actually, hold on. I'm missing, dude. I swear, I missed one stream and start losing my mind. Who's over on InfoSec streams? Standard Error, DK. Ooh, I haven't seen him. What's he doing? He's shopping. That's what he's doing. He's shopping during an ad break. That's what he's doing. He's doing monkey at keyboard. That's what he's doing. Go away, booking. Go. What's he up to? Draw maze? I'm not sure what he's working on. He is doing a whole lot of like just silent work over here. So love you, Standard, but I don't know if we're going to actually raid over to you. Oh, there's a Helsing abridged? I haven't seen that. I need to go watch that. SAO abridged was freaking hilarious. I still need to watch Dragon Ball Z abridged. I don't know when I'm going to ever get to him, but... Well, I'll tell you what, Desi's on. We'll go right over to Desi. He's at least doing some coding and talking about stuff. So, all right, let me get the raid kicked off. All right, guys, that's unfortunately where I got to wrap it up. Everyone, y'all have a fantastic Sunday tomorrow. If it's already your Sunday, I hope you're having a fantastic one. I'll catch up with y'all tomorrow night. We'll debug the rest of the agents a little bit, and hopefully that won't take too long. I think everything's working fairly smooth. Just got to do a few minor updates. And then we can finally start planning out the post-exploitation agent. Yes, it's sick. Maybe start playing with the deep agent a little bit more. So, everyone, y'all have a great night. Yeah, that's it, guys. I hope y'all have a great night. I hope y'all having a fantastic start to your year. We're 10 days in, only 345 left to crush it. 55, I can count. So, everyone, y'all have a fantastic night. Thanks for coming to hang out. I want y'all to remember one very important thing. This is important. I want you to listen very carefully now, which is, one, when you get over to the raid, drop a bunch of Hack the Planets. And two, I want y'all to remember that I love you. Peace.